Once again, welcome back to the channel. So today we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing a bit of game testing. So I'm going to put this down as being a sponsored video, in that Green Man Gaming, we're opening game testing for this new game that's about to land. They're producing this game, or releasing this game, whatever, called Filthy Animals Heist Simulator. Sounded interesting, seemed like a nice indie type game that should run well on something like the Anbernic Win 600. So as I've just showed you on the screen here, we are running 720p absolute lowest settings. If you listen to the fan now, it's running quite fast and loud, and that's because we're having to use an 18 watt TDP. I'll flash up on screen just now the settings that we were using: 18 watt TDP, and I think I've set it to 540p, even though in game it says 720. And as you can see, it's a bit strange. So these cutscenes is 100% GPU, which is a bit odd because it's not like it's really doing anything other than playing back, a cutscene, which is a bit strange. So it does look like the game probably needs a little bit of tweaking just to get the most out of it. It just appears a little bit unrefined at the moment from a performance point of view. And the FPS there doesn't look great, but bear with when we get into the actual game. And what I'll do is I'll just edit forward to where the actual game starts now. Okay, so here we are more in-game, and as you can see, this is just a trial level, the first level where you get to learn all the different controls and how to pick things up, and there is quite a lot of different controls to learn in this game. The only downside, as you can see on the Anbernic Win 600, is you're having to use that left thumbstick, which is so low down, and as you'll see later in the video, I'll show a later point, my hand starts to cramp up when I'm actually using it, because you have to use your shoulder buttons as well. If you weren't using shoulder buttons, it'd be fine, but you do. That's not a fault of this game though, that's more of a quirk of the Anbernic Win 600. So, but as you can see here, we're getting 35 FPS at this point. That's running okay. Poor little GPU's pegged at 100%, but the CPU's 70-ish, so that's not bad. But the game itself, it actually runs pretty well. It looks pretty snazzy on screen. It looks, even though we're running the lowest settings, that still looks pretty playable. So, what I'll do now is we'll skip forward into the first sort of main level, because there's much more happens on that screen, and you'll see the performance will dip a tiny bit, but not as much as you'd expect. So here we are, starting the first level. First thing you've got to do is pick up the little bag, which allows you to store your money. Imagine starting a heist without your getaway bag, your swag bag, but that's just the way it is. This is an indie game, so this is the sort of game that I would think would be perfect for the Anbernic Win 600. And as you can see here, the 600 is struggling a bit. That little AMD Athlon Silver 3050E is only managing 26, 27 FPS there, but it still feels pretty playable. I have to admit, when I played this through, I never once looked at the screen to see how many FPS I was getting. That top corner of the screen was absolutely ignored. I was just getting involved in the gameplay. Now this is a game that you can play with, I think it's up to 8 other players, or 7 other players, 8 players in total, and I might actually try that and see if it's how it actually performs, because it does look like it would be quite a lot of fun playing with your mates, picking off those doors, and you can pick up and throw pretty much everything on screen. I'm guessing, much like when you pick them up, you can throw them against the little NPCs, you can probably throw them against your friends, so that'd be quite a lot of fun. So, but it's actually quite good. It's a kind of wobbly life type, way of playing. Your character kind of flobs around, and you pick things up, and when you're dragging along things that are bigger than him, he kind of struggles, and he'll trip over pretty much anything if you're running, and that's different, and it's reasonably fun actually, I would say. The levels they don't take too long. I mean, I spent a while on this because I was trying to make sure I got every option picked up, cashing all the money and finding all the hidden things that you've got to find, but you can blast through these levels quite quickly if you really want to. And as you can see, graphically it looks pretty good. In fact, the FPS has now climbed up to, well, it was up to 32 there for a second, so it does seem a little bit variable. And as we've noticed through all this footage, well, there the GPU just dropped from 100%, but it's pretty much always pegged at 100%. Although it's dropping down there a bit now, which is kind of strange. Especially as the FPS has dropped. And there's a lot happening on screen. There's lots of different flashy icons, and the other characters moving around, well, except for the guy behind the till. He never seems to do anything. Is this a game I'd recommend when it gets to full release? Well, depending on the price, I might. If it's £20 or $20 or whatever, I would say it's a wee bit overpriced. But you know, if it's going to be a budget game, it's going to be like, I don't know, $10, then it might be okay. A game the kids can enjoy, and if you just want a little bit of puzzling, it's quite good for that as well. It's good to see places like Green Man Gaming, who generally sell games, actually getting into the publishing side of things. Good for game developers, and also good for sites like Green Man Gaming, who, you know, generally they're probably seen as a company that sells, you know, cheap keys for Steam and what have you. But I actually find they're a very, very good site. I've bought probably most of my catalogue in the last year has been from Green Man Gaming, and that's not an advertisement. That's just, you know, my personal preference. I'll go with whichever provider sells the games at the most affordable price. So as ever, if you like what I do, please like, share and subscribe. This has been a slightly longer video. I wanted to just, you know, show some decent gameplay of this game. You know, it's a game testing opportunity. I know Green Man Gaming are really keen for people to test the game and comment on how they're getting on. I think this game's pretty good. Like I say, I'm not asking or advertising this game for sale. I'm just reviewing a game that's not quite hit the market yet. So, and it runs okay on the little Win 600 with a little bit of refinement. Like I say, it could be made to probably use a little bit less power. 18 watts TDP on this little Win 600 is kind of pushing it a bit, but then I can see this game probably running quite well on the next generation of lower powered handheld PCs, like the AYN Loki, for example, the Mendocino, however you pronounce it, version. That might run pretty well. From my point of view, I might actually pick this game up when it full releases, because I'm quite enjoying it. You know, I've actually played through this whole weekend. I've been able to play it through. I've played it through about 3 or 4 times. First on the Steam Deck. I played it through the Anbernic, and then I decided to play it through the Anbernic again just to capture some footage the second time. So yeah, I think this is quite a fun little game. You could play it on your own, or you could play it with friends, which is always good. I mean, I generally solo play, so being able to play with friends, that's a good feature. Maybe not one I would use, but still a good feature. Anyway, I'm going to sign off for now, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.